a bandmate. Spend time with them on the road in a bus.
I know.
And then there's buses. There's buses, and then there's buses.
There's
and
the urinator.
You and I happen to be on board it was the Geoff Tate version of Queensryche. And Geoff owns or owned. I'm not even sure if that thing's still running anymore.
Doubt it.
I really doubt it.
They ran out of parts for it because it was a 1987 Eagle, a silver Eagle. They didn't fucking make parts for it anymore.
I know. You have to go to Havana to find parts for that bus. And that bus will break down every single day.
Oh, yes, it would. And what was its top speed, Rudes? Do you remember?
Going in reverse.
50 miles an hour max, because we were pulling that trailer.
And thank God that we had Jamie Allen Sign as our driver, because he will get us there no matter what. Oh my God. And sometimes he would stay awake for like 24 hours because the thing would break down and then. But I gotta give credit to Geoff.
Geoff fixed the damn thing.
Geoff would be the first person. He would just take his shirt off, go outside. It was the summer
spanners and oil.
Yeah, and he would get the thing running back again.
I know, he was insane.
But in the process, we lost air conditioning. We were sweating our asses off inside that sucker.
And it was Texas at the beginning of June.
Texas, I know, in the middle of summer.
Oh my God, it was hot.
And I got to tell you, I mean, this happened about, 4 or 5 years ago? You have already, about 5 years ago.
2013 or 14?
Yeah. And you already had established yourself as a major star. And I used to you would get out of your bunk and we would sit across from each other in the front lounge, and I would ask you, what the hell are you doing here?
And I'd be like, same as you, Ruth. Gotta do it. Because I was doing that Sun thing with Tishy.
That's right. Yeah. So you and Brian Tishy would open up the show.
Yeah.
2 piece.
Yeah.
Brian with
his acoustic
a bass drum and an acoustic guitar.
and a hat.
And a hi-hat. Yeah. He was like one of those wind-up
monkeys.
Wind-up monkeys that just you wind up a monkey and he plays all these little instruments.
And it was such a weird juxtaposition of this acoustic stomp stuff with Queensryche. It was just,
I know,
but it worked fantastic.
It worked great, and you always sang your ass off. You could really fill any room with your voice. Because I couldn't hear her from the dressing room because we were getting ready. Even though you then will come back and play the part of Sister Mary. In the show because we were doing Operation Mindcrime.
That's right.
And then at the end we'll do some encore, all the songs. You will come out and I will do the bump with you and dance with you.
Oh my God. And then I lost my voice. I lost my voice. And I mean, I lost it like I've never lost it before in my life, and I hope I never lose it again. Do you know that whole thing lasted about 5 months? I couldn't sing.
Was it due to the
5
bus?
months. I don't know what it was.
The environment?
No idea. I got sick, and it's funny because I knew a lot of other people who were singers too who got that same virus. I remember Barry Dunaway, but nobody's lasted 5 months. Everybody else was 3 months. They couldn't really sing for 3 months.
Yeah.
I was like, is this the end of it forever? Because I can't sing. I really couldn't sing. It was terrible. It was the most awful.
At your worst, you always sound great.
Yeah, except for then. I couldn't sing. Nothing came out.
Your standard is so high.
No, nothing would come out, though, Rubes. I couldn't even... I'd be like...
I remember.
It was horrific.
You were struggling, but
I couldn't even hit a note.
But you still sounded great.
Oh, God bless you.
You still sounded great.
Well, anyways, Rudy's lying right there because I couldn't.
That's true. It's true. I mean, look, you know what I would love to do? Because I think that a lot of who and what you are as an artist has a lot to do with your upbringing. The fact that you travel around the world, it's really fascinating. You're one of the most fascinating artists I know.
Wow.
I know because you. I mean, before you were on a journey before you became a professional musician. Can you tell us about it?
Well, the whole first part of my life, like we went to India. I was born in England. In Birmingham, in England, in the Midlands. Mm-hmm. And my parents were both British, but working class British. And then my dad got a job in France as a tour guide. I didn't know that either. I was like, what? Really? Anyways,
because he spoke English?
He spoke French perfectly.
Oh, French. And
he was English.
But the tourists must have been English.
It was for England. Exactly. Yeah. But he could speak French perfectly, so he was able to talk to everybody, that was like working in the bars, and he would take them to lunches and bars, and they'd get all this skim money and all. I'm like, really? Yeah, awesome. I have no idea. Yeah. Anyways, my brother was born there, and in France, and then my dad's friend had moved to Montreal to work at a university in Montreal in Canada, and he'd said to my dad, you could easily get a job here in Montreal at the university as a professor or assistant professor, and that's what moved the family.
Of what?
French. Yeah.
Really?
French literature, 17th and 18th century.
Wow.
Go figure. Anyways, and then he also did linguistics and all kinds of stuff. He ended up being a big professor, not an assistant professor, whatever the hell that was. And it was Sir George Williams University at the time, but then it turned into Concordia University in Montreal, which is a big university. Anyway, and then when I was like 8 years old, my dad decided he was going to take a sabbatical leave, a year off, which is where you get paid half year, and go to, I don't know why he picked India, but he did. It could have something to do with the British and and India, and just the fascination of the history behind it.
What area in India?
We went to the south of India, Tamil Nadu, and we were in a place called Pondicherry,
Did you learn any
I went
dialects?
to school. I went to this Catholic girls' school in India, in the south. I mean, those buggers got everywhere, those cats, they were everywhere. I know. Yeah. So they got into India too, of course. But there was an ashram in Pondicherry called the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, which was a very big thing in like the 60s, 70s. People from all over the world would come to this ashram, and they built a town called Auroville, A-U-R-O, Auroville, like Aurobindo was the name of the guru, and so Auroville, and it was built by all these Europeans and people from all over the world, actually, and it was like sort of like a utopian idea. It's still going, though. I still see the paper they used to make and everything. I see it. It's still around. Anyways. And don't forget, I'm talking to you from the perspective of somebody who was 8 or 9 years old. My dad's friend worked for the National Film Board of Canada, and he went over with us. They decided to make a documentary film called
what is it called?
The India Trip. You could see it on YouTube.
The India
Trip. That's what it's called, but it has nothing to do with drugs. Anyways, and basically what it is, it's about this little town in Pondicherry was the one place in India that was occupied by the French and not the British. So they decided they would go and check what is the influence of the French culture on the native Indian population as opposed to the influence of the British culture on the native Indian population. And it's quite fascinating. Anyways, and I'm in it. I'm 8 years old. I have a full British accent. I didn't know I ever had that because all I was ever around was my parents. This was the 60s. There was no music in retail stores in the 60s. You didn't just go into a store and there was ubiquitous pop music playing. No, there was nothing. I don't remember hearing pop music until I was at least 8 or 9 years old. Not really. I never heard it. I heard the freaking Friendly Giant Early one morning, just as the sun was rising. You know what I mean? Like something. That's what I heard. And all my parents
Jolly
listened
Green
to.
Giant?
Exactly.
Oh.
Well, no, it was called The Friendly Giant. It was a Canadian TV show for kids.
Oh, okay. I see.
Not the Jolly Green Giant, but close enough.
I thought it was,
so my parents, all they listened to was classical music. That's all I ever heard. And then one day, I tell the story, I know I've told it before, but I'm telling you again because it was amazing. My brother and I discovered that you could turn the dial on the radio and this whole magical world came out.
Oh my God.
And the first song I remember ever hearing is the Night They Drove Old Dixie Down by the band.
The band. Now, is this in India?
No. This is we're back in Canada.
You're back to Canada.
This is now I'm 9. Yes, but when on our way to India, we were on a Russian freighter ship from Montreal to the UK. A Russian freighter. It's not made for commercial passengers. No. Anyway, so we're on this thing to India, and then from England. Excuse me, that was Montreal to like Bristol or somewhere in the UK. Then from Bristol to Bombay. It was called Bombay then. Now it's Mumbai, but it was Bombay back then. And again, it was called the Chakdara, and it was the last of the British India Company ships carrying all kinds of stuff. Unbelievable. It was the first time I ever saw Muslim people because, Canada in the 60s.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And there was all these factions because all the crew that worked on the boat, they were an international crew. Yeah. So there was the Chinese, there was the there was the Filipinos, there was the Muslims, there was the this, there was the that. Everybody had to live together on this boat, but they each had their quarters and they would make their food and their kind. It was like going on a trip around the world on the bloody boat. We were on the boat for 6 weeks, and we were in the tail end of a hurricane off of South Africa, going around the Cape.
You went around the Cape of
Horn. Yes. And then I remember being in Karachi in Pakistan in the harbor and fishing off the side of the ship. Oh, I remember all kinds of crazy stuff. We were in the Middle East and at Dubai and saw a slave. An actual slave. We were walking down the street of this island. This is the end of the 60s. Okay, so this is 69, I would say. Me and my dad, and me and my dad and my brother, and he's holding our hands. And my dad was young at the time. To me, he's way younger. He was way younger then than I am now. Can't even imagine that, but yeah. And we were walking down the street, and it's full of the latest tech gear, like record players and all radios and speakers, radios exactly. And we turn the corner and we come back on the next street, and there's nothing. It's like residences, and there's this man, this huge black man, and he's sitting on the porch of this house, and he had a ball and chain around his leg. Oh my God. I never saw anything like that before in my life. I've never seen anything like that.
You recognized that.
I was like, what's wrong with that man, Daddy? Why does he have that? And my dad's like, I guess I would imagine he's a slave. I mean, I don't know if it's the truth. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. But is that crazy?
I know.
69, that is.
Yeah, it must have had a huge impact because you did not forget.
Well, I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember it. Yeah. I remember seeing lepers and people.
Lepers. Yeah, I know.
With the disease. Yeah. Oh my God, it was crazy. I remember seeing all kinds of. Yeah. There was all kinds of crazy. Being in India for that. So then we lived there for like 9 months or so.
So it was not a sheltered life at all. You were exposed to the realities of the world as it was in the 60s.
The goats that would eat the tin can. The goats that would eat the tin cans roaming the streets. Yeah. And then the sacred cows. And it was crazy. It was so different. I can't imagine it now. I bet there's no way it's the same. It would have changed dramatically. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely. Like, what is that, 40 bloody years ago? I don't know. Yeah. Something like that. So it's a very long time ago. But it was
more than 40.
Yes, I don't want to play more. Anyways, but then I remember that they would advertise the new film that was going to be played that week. you know, Raja and the Rani and all this amazing stuff. And they would advertise it with these billboards pulled by oxen, and then they would be playing the drums and the bells and it was intense. It was so amazing.
Yeah, you know what? We've never had Indian food.
No, I know.
It's just something that